super excited to be here with Nathan Kemnitz. Thanks for driving in from Houston. Appreciate
man.
that.
Good to be here, Mike. Good to see you.
Nathan and I have been friends for 22 years. We both joined the Marine Corps. I was 17 years old. You were 18,
19.
19 years
yeah.
old, just teenagers. Shortly after 9/11 in 2001, Kemnitz and I finished up high school, and we met after 3 months of training at the Marine Corps Recruit Training Depot in San Diego, which they initially send you to learn how to be a general Marine. They then send you for your MOS, or your military occupational specialty. Both of us were infantrymen, so we went to the School of Infantry.
Yep, that's where we met.
Nathan and I went through that together in Camp Pendleton and had some great training. And then after just 3 months of being together in the same unit, which is 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines in Camp Pendleton, California, we got called in on a Friday by our first sergeant, had a formation, and said, pack your bags on Monday, we're flying to go to war in Iraq. Pretty powerful. I remember all of us getting pretty excited, and not necessarily excited to go to war because we wanted to be in danger or anything.
Yeah.
I think it was more about, we trained for thousands of hours, right? And it was excitement to be able to, you talked about the camaraderie, right?
Camaraderie, yeah.
And just be able to put our skills on display and go serve our country.
Yeah, exactly.
So our senior Marines, who were ones who had just come back from the initial invasion of Iraq, was in 2003. Nathan, talk a little bit about what our mission was initially supposed to be.
Yeah, so kind of what I remember, we caught Saddam Hussein in December 2003. Remember George Bush did the mission accomplish in that May of 2003. Our unit was an initial invasion and during that spring, and they only lost one guy in that battalion. It was a very successful, went in, did exactly what we're supposed to do. And then kind of in early 04, we thought we were going to go over and do humanitarian missions, especially in the cities around Fallujah, around Baghdad, kind of out in that direction. But during that time, that's when some of the insurgents started coming into the city. There was a few reports of IEDs. So we had an idea that we might see some action, but it still was very much, we're going to win the hearts and minds of the Iraq people.
Right,
That was the
exactly.
idea.
George Bush had presented this image of win the hearts and minds. We did do quite a bit of that. I remember when we got there, we used to pallet by helicopter. We would pallet in water to hotspots so that the people would have water, would have food.
Yeah.
I remember you and I throwing candy outside the back of the Hummers to children.
Soccer balls.
Soccer balls. We would bring our medics in to help women give birth in hospitals and perform surgeries, because third world country like that, they just have very basic medical facilities and capabilities, so it was a great opportunity for us to help. However, fast forward to April, we had some Blackwater contractors, which are private security who are protecting U.S. ambassadors and diplomatic security for the U.S. State Department. Four of them were caught and were hung from the bridge.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the war. Basically, George Bush's response was, we've got these Americans, terrorists are coming in, and they drugged them in the streets for a while and then hung them by their necks, right?
And pretty much right in front of our base because they wanted us to see it. And that was kind of the kickoff of the first Fallujah battle, probably the biggest.
So Nathan and I were part of the Battle of Fallujah, or the Battle for Fallujah, which to date in the Iraqi war, and I believe Afghanistan, is the deadliest battle. Just to give you an example of our seniors who had fought in the invasion before, you said 1 KIA. Our unit of 600 or 700 experienced 46 killed in action, over 200 wounded, including Nathan here, and we'll get to his wounds shortly. Can you explain what a Purple Heart is?
Yeah, pretty much a Purple Heart is given if you get injured in combat by enemy action. So you can get it if you're killed, you can get it if you're seriously injured, kind of like I was, which I'll go over that soon, or you can get it killed for or get it if you get a flesh wound, so.
Yeah, so we basically had 200 of our 600 or 700 wounded in action. Nearly half of them were sent home, couldn't fight anymore.
Yeah.
So our job during the next 9 months was day by day, kicking down doors, going through houses, trying to rid the city of terrorists. Fallujah has 400,000 people. I think I remember there being tens of thousands by the numbers of terrorists who were taking over homes, holding women and children hostage.
Yeah.
They were decapitating the men. Just to give you an example of the way these terrorists would fight, they would put themselves in mosques because they knew that we wouldn't shoot them. They would put themselves in water towers and snipers, and they would be shooting at us from them. Basically, yeah, we spent the better part of the rest of the 2004 either on foot or in vehicle on patrol, trying to get rid of these terrorists.
Yeah.
And just to give you an example, on August 21, when Nathan was wounded and we also lost one of our best friends, Seth Houston, we were living on a forward operating base, which is a compound that you build outside of a main base that's still part of a city or a village, and in Saqlawiyah, which is just part of Fallujah, right, a village to the side.
Yeah.
And Nathan and I and Seth, and we had two sections there. Was there about 20, 30 of us? Because we had two squads.
About 20, yeah.
Yeah, 20 of us were basically living on this compound, providing 360 degrees security. And half of us would go out and either walk or drive in the town. We had local military, National Guard, and local military living with us. We equipped them with weapons, with uniforms, with food. Our goal was to teach them how to govern their own cities so that we wouldn't have to stay there 20 years, which we ended up doing anyways, which is not funny, but didn't go exactly as planned. But Nathan, I'd love you just to discuss a little bit about what happened on that day.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like what you're saying, Mike, we did a lot of patrols every day. Well, a normal patrol happened where we walk into the city, making sure everything is secure, looking good. We had a report of somebody digging on the road, which, we got reports like that all the time. So it wasn't like a big deal to go down the road to go look at that, even though that sounds like a big deal. You're going down and to a possibly bomb that could kill you.
Yeah, just to give you, just to elaborate on that, the way that they fight typically is in the middle of the night, they'll bring shovels out. They think they're not being seen, but we all have night vision goggles and we can see what they're doing.
Yeah.
They typically bury a bomb underneath with an artillery round and some shrapnel, which is just little triangular pieces of metal that are in a barrel, and then explosives around. And then they'll have a wire coming out of the road, and then someone nearby either has a cell phone or a garage door opener, and when they watch us walk over or drive over, which happened that day, they detonate it. So that's how they fight us.
And that's kind of what happened to me. So we had our buddy Seth, like Mike said. I was behind Seth, and then we had one of our other guys right behind me. Pretty much all I remember, I was walking, I kind of looked up around, I looked down, and that's the last thing I remember. I came to, it went off, I came to. I couldn't feel my face. I couldn't feel my arm. It knocked the wind out of me because I was so close to the blast, maybe just 5 feet away, where it just knocked the wind out of me.
Yes, just to paint that picture, there's 13 of them. On this day, Seth and I, either one of us goes on the patrol and the other doesn't. And I say this because that person had to carry the radio, which is quite heavy. And that radio goes with the platoon commander who's in charge and the medic. They're standing next to each other. So that's a prime target for a terrorist or the enemy who sees those three, the person who's going to provide medicine, the person who's in charge, and the person who's going to call for help.
Yeah.
So that's why they blew, and Nathan was right next to them. It's wild to me because I was supposed to carry the radio that day, but Seth argued with me back and forth, and he said, screw you, I'm going to do it. It's 120 degrees, I'm a man, I want to do it. And finally I was like, fine, you take it. And unfortunately that day, he was right on top of the bomb when they blew it. It immediately killed Seth, and you took a lot of the...
Yeah, and then it pretty much, for me, it took out my right arm, right shoulder, blew everything out. Those are skin grafts, took out all this. I can't move my hand. I got a little bit of bicep and tricep, and then I'm blind on my right eye.
I will say, in the decades since, your arm has gotten so strong and so
Yeah.
mobile. I remember for the first few years after, one, they wanted to amputate it.
Oh yeah, for weeks they wanted to amputate my arm.
And Nathan he's incredible. He's had about 25 surgeries. A lot of the times it's the nerve damage, right? Where they'll try to put other nerves from your legs back in your arm to
Yeah.
see if they grow.
Had a few of those. A lot of just skin grafts, moving muscles, nerve grafts, a lot of washouts. And I would say for the first 6 weeks, I was just in a coma on morphine, in and out. I mean, that's a whole story. We could
Yeah, I'd
go
love to
into
just
itself.
briefly touch on it. So what happened next was, boom, Seth's dead. My squad immediately comes to pick up Seth, to pick up you in vehicles, and we're screaming, racing back in our Hummers to Bravo Surgical, which is on the military base of Camp Fallujah,
Yeah.
or the MEC, where they have surgeons. So they've already gotten a heads up that we're on the way. And on the way, I remember our staff sergeant was calling in a KIA, which means killed in action. And fast forward 3 weeks further down the road, Nathan had been medevaced to Germany, where they take a lot of people before the States. You'd mentioned something about because of
Yeah,
depleted
because a lot of
uranium.
these old, IEDs, these old bombs, artillery rounds that their insurgents are using are from the Soviet era. So they'll have something called depleted uranium in there, and so they got to make sure you don't have any, even just little shrapnel inside you. You
Yeah,
got to
inside
clear
his
all that
body
out.
that could spread the uranium.
Yeah.
But when I called Nathan, first of all, I didn't know that you were blind and you'd
Yeah.
experienced cataracts, which is like from the explosion, right? It's blowing and your eyes are going clouded.
Shakes your eyeballs so bad that it causes cataracts in your eyes.
So 3 weeks later, the doctors told him he's going to be blind forever. And that's how I was talking to Nathan. And I also didn't know that I was the first one to tell you, by the way, Seth died.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting is when that staff sergeant was calling in the KIA, Nathan, because he had so much blood rushing down his face, and you were probably disoriented from
Yeah.
being blown up, you thought that they were calling in
Yeah.
you as dead.
I thought it was me because I thought my head was blown off and I was just,
Yeah.
outer body experience.
I'm sure it was an out of body experience for all of us. For
Yeah.
me to look at you guys and be picking up you guys, really tragic experience. But hey, that's part of war, and
Yeah.
I ended up staying, and you ended up going through surgeries nonstop for the next few years to try to put you back together.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about, obviously 5 months after I got back from my first tour, I was going back for my second. And I was now a squad leader. I'd been promoted. I was taking a squad back to war. Talk a little bit about your feelings when you weren't going to be part of it.
Yeah, and like I was telling Mike earlier before this, it's like, for me, since I got injured so young, 20 years old, like that tour, that time in Iraq is frozen in time for me. That's I can remember a lot of things vividly. Not after I was injured, but everything leading up to it, and then everything afterwards is just kind of a blur. But I was in the best shape of my life, and I was ready to be promoted as well and go up to the next rank. And being injured and not be able to do that, I didn't feel like a Marine or a man anymore. And so I really wanted to get back to just be with my guys, be with you, be with the unit.
Yeah, I wanted Nathan to share that perspective because I'm sure for you guys and for us all looking from the outside in, you were the ultimate man. You were the guy who sacrificed his body. We had a bunch of other people directly behind you that if you didn't take that blow, would have killed them or severely wounded them. So it's so interesting that from your mindset, you were thinking, oh, I just want to be back at war with my guys, with my brothers. And we were thinking, stay home and rest, man. You've done enough.
I mean, now, especially at my age now, that would have been the right thing. But being so young and being alone, nobody was talking to me. I couldn't talk to anybody who knew my experience because it was just nurses, corpsmen, and even the other injured guys I couldn't talk to them. They were pretty injured. I was in the hospital room all by myself.
Yeah, basically they fly everyone back into Maryland or it's Walter Reed or Bethesda, right?
yeah.
Where they do a lot of either prosthetics or the
Yeah.
surgeries for the wounded guys. That must have been a really difficult time. One, because it was the beginning of the war when guys were first really getting
Yeah.
hit. So it's not like you could really relate or people could relate to you. They were probably looking at you
Yeah.
like you were some science project or
No,
something.
and they didn't have all these like things they have today to help with PTSD and transitioning. They didn't have any of that because they weren't ready for this amount of people that were coming in. And
Right.
so even my parents who had to take off from work for months to be with me, they got help to pay their mortgage, because they couldn't work.
Crazy. It's
You
crazy.
know?
And I'm so glad we've come a long way since then,
Yeah.
especially taking care of guys with PTSD. Another thing I wanted
Yeah.
to mention, in addition to the KIA and the wounded we talked about, we had 2 guys in our units in the past decade or two who've killed themselves.
Yeah.
Dozens more. That was in our platoon alone.
Yeah.
Dozens more. One of our best friends, Garrett Moulton. So the terrorist and the enemy isn't just eliminating you on that day of battle. There's a lot of, and I'm still seeing a therapist every week for
Yeah.
some PTSD and some trauma. I'm sure you're still working through some stuff.
Oh yeah, and I went through a big 30-day PTSD center a decade ago to get help, because at first I couldn't accept it, and it wasn't really there that early on. It didn't really get put in until years later. So
Yeah, and a lot of us turn to drugs and alcohol, which is obviously the wrong thing to do, but we both have gone on our journey there. But I just wanted to briefly talk about when you said frozen in time. I remember, can you talk a little bit about that you were holding the rifle and when the injury happened, what happened to your arm?
oh yeah, so usually if anybody's been around gun shooting or the military, for your own safety, you hold your trigger finger out over the rifle like this. So my hand, when I got injured, was in this position, kind of like this. So for probably years, it felt like even though my hand is atrophied, it would feel like it's like this, but like a lot of pressure around it.
So
And-
basically, it
yeah.
felt like for years and years, it still felt like you were holding a rifle.
Yeah.
Just to try to help people understand, it's pretty difficult to move on from your time at war when you think you've got your finger around the trigger.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just I just want to display how real it can be, and yeah. So Nathan, when we ended up going back to war, had a difficult time with drugs and the surgeries and just hard being accepted. And I'm just so proud to say you've now got a doctorate from USC.
Yep.
You're a geologist.
Yeah, the GI Bill. The voc rehab paid for my undergrad, my master's, and part of my PhD. University helps with that too. So
The GI Bill is if you serve 3 or 4 years in the military, they pay for you to go to school. I used it as well at
Yep.
UNC Chapel Hill, got my degree. It is one of the great things that we get for serving. And has a wife and child and another one on the way.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Very blessed, and it was only because I had to do the work with my PTSD. I had to get through that and get past that and put down the drinking and the drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once I did that, everything opened up. And have a wife, like I said, kids, a great career. And again, it's good meeting up with you. We haven't really met up too much, but I'm glad we.
Yeah, but we've kept in touch throughout the years,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. I wanted to have you on the show because it's all about overcoming adversity, and you are a true war hero. Your injuries are severe. So glad you're seeing again now. If you would have seen Nathan in the years, you've had some amazing laser surgery.
Yeah.
He had shrapnel that had pretty distorted your face pretty significantly.
It was all pretty dark on this side of my face because that's where
Peppered.
it hit me on this side. Yeah.
And he just showed me earlier he can do 20 push-ups, and I've watched him for years just having the arm that they wanted to remove, but you decided, no, I want to keep it. And I remember you would just use it maybe to put a pizza box under or something.
Yep.
But now you've got a really strong arm, and you run marathons, right?
Yeah, well, I've run one, and I used to do that a few years ago. I did a lot of halves, but I want to now really get back into it. So for the past year, I've been running again.
Amazing. Well, that's what we're about to do right now. I had Nathan come in because the beloved Ladybird Lake Trail is something I've been wanting to show you. And you guys are going to see us, as you saw in recent weeks, with my broken neck recovery. I'm not running sexy at all. It is very stiff. Nathan's got, you used to wear a device on your arm,
Yeah, to
on your
hold
body
it so it didn't
to
flap
hold it.
around. Yeah.
So we both, you know, have an absolute love for moving our body, take care of ourselves. We're 40 and 41, and I'd say we're doing pretty, given all things considered and all the injuries, we're doing pretty well. And we want to take you along for a run and just show you that just because we might not look completely normal or function completely normal, we're still going to get out there and love to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on, man, and let's go for a run.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Cool. So that's a 3.5 mile run. As you can see, it was pretty muggy, pretty humid. One recommendation there is drop your ego and lower your pace. We slowed down to a 9-minute pace to keep our heart rate because I've still got 10-12 hours left. It's Wednesday, and to finish off the week, I need to manage fatigue. And if you could see guys like Nathan here, you know, wounded pretty severely, had an incredible comeback. Just want to give you guys the idea that, you know, it's hard to come by excuses when you've got guys like this who are out here. He's going to be training for another marathon. Loved having you on the show, man. Thanks for showing these guys what it's like to be a Marine veteran and triumphing through life.
Yeah, good for having me, Mike. It's good catching up, good running. Really appreciate the talk. It's always
We used to run together when we were 19 years old. Back then we weighed a lot less and we ran a lot quicker.
Oh yeah.
Just as fun to be out here. Thanks guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.